The rain had been falling all morning, but it was the moment Anna stepped into the glass-walled restaurant that her life truly felt like it had reached its storm's peak. Her clothes were still damp, her hands cold, and her heartbeat a nervous drum against her ribcage. She had taken 2 buses and walked 15 minutes in the rain for this job interview, the one she believed might finally save her from collapsing under the weight of overdue rent, rising medical bills, and the sickening ache of survival. She had walked into that high-end restaurant hoping to breathe for the first time in months, but instead she found herself stepping into a world where every polished surface reflected just how out of place she was. And within minutes, she made one mistake that could have cost her everything. She sat at the wrong table, a table reserved not for job applicants, but for the CEO. And when he arrived, powerful, composed, feared by an entire city, everything inside Anna froze. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that a single moment can change a life, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support truly means the world. Anna had been trembling when she entered the restaurant. She held her old canvas bag to her chest as if it were armor, though the fabric was frayed and water-stained. Her shoes squeaked embarrassingly on the marble floor. The hostess had been busy dealing with an upset customer, and no one seemed free to guide her. So when Anna saw the beautifully set table at the center, she assumed it might be meant for interviews. It looked important, and she wanted to show that she was serious, prepared, and grateful. She slipped into the plush seat, unaware of the risk she had just taken. The scent of expensive cologne drifted through the air moments later, followed by a sudden hush in the room. Anna felt the shift before she saw the man. Tall, impeccably dressed, eyes sharp enough to silence a room. Michael Hale, CEO of Hale Industries. His presence was like a strike of lightning in the quiet restaurant. Conversations dimmed, waiters straightened their posture, and even the sound of clinking glasses seemed to pause. He walked straight toward her table. By the time his shadow fell across her, Anna's heartbeat had stuttered into panic. She realized too late that something was wrong. She stood up, nearly knocking over her chair, and stammered an apology, her cheeks burning, her breath caught in her throat. But the CEO raised his hand, not to silence her, not to scold her, but to stop her from leaving. Stay. That single word felt heavier than the rain outside, heavier than anything she had carried in her life. She sat back down, unsure, trembling, unsure whether she'd be kicked out or humiliated. But Michael simply lowered himself into the chair across from her, studying her carefully. His eyes weren't cold, just observant, curious, quietly intense. He had been expecting a contract negotiation with high-ranking investors, but instead he saw a young woman who looked like she was fighting invisible battles on all sides. Her clothes were worn, her hair damp, her hands restless. Everything about her seemed fragile, yet there was a burning determination in those tired eyes that he recognized instantly, the kind of determination only someone who had known struggle could possess. The restaurant staff hesitated, not sure whether to correct the situation or obey their CEO's unexpected choice, but he nodded slightly, signaling that everything was fine. The room exhaled. Anna swallowed hard, unsure what to say, unsure why he had allowed her to stay. She felt like a ghost haunting a room she didn't belong in. She wanted to disappear, but some small voice inside her whispered to hold on. Just hold on. Michael didn't ask her who she was. He let her breathe first. He watched the way she looked around, embarrassed, trying to shrink into the seat. Something about her reminded him of a time long before he became CEO, of nights when he slept in his car and lived off vending machine snacks while trying to start a business no one believed in. Perhaps that was why he let her stay. When she finally gathered the courage to speak, Anna explained that she was here for a job interview. Her voice was soft,
hesitant, as if she expected her truth to be an inconvenience. She didn't mention the eviction notice waiting at home, the medication her younger brother needed, or the crushing guilt she carried for never being able to give him the life he deserved. She simply said she needed a chance to work, a chance to build something, a chance to breathe. Michael listened without interrupting, and that alone brought Anna close to tears. People rarely listened to her. The minutes stretched, but didn't suffocate. The restaurant returned to its usual rhythm, yet everything still felt different, like the world had tilted in a way only two people could feel. When the investors arrived, they were stunned to see a young girl sitting in their seat, flustered and out of place. They exchanged confused glances, some amused, some irritated. But before anyone could speak, Michael leaned back and said calmly that the meeting would take place elsewhere today. He ordered a private dining room opened for them. They left reluctantly, but the CEO's word was final. Anna could feel their judgment like needles on her skin. She lowered her gaze, wishing she could vanish. But Michael didn't let her. He told her to wait after his meeting. And so she waited. Every tick of the clock echoed through her bones. Every passing staff member glanced at her, curious about the girl who had somehow earned the CEO's attention. Anna tried to remain composed, but her mind swirled with worries. Would he fire her before she even got hired? Would he scold her for her mistake? Would he simply forget about her? An hour later, Michael returned. He motioned for her to follow him, leading her to a quieter corner of the restaurant. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating dust particles that danced like tiny stars around them. The storm outside had weakened, but Anna's storm inside had only grown stronger. Michael crossed his arms and asked her about her skills, her experience, her goals. She answered honestly, even when the truth made her look small. She had worked odd jobs, taken long commutes, sacrificed school, cared for her younger brother since their parents died, and stitched their lives together with hope and frayed threads. She didn't embellish, she didn't pretend, she simply told the truth. And for Michael, that truth was enough.
He saw someone who had strength carved by hardship, someone who didn't quit, someone who didn't give up even when life pushed her to the edge. He hired her. Right there. No second interview, no corporate formalities, just a decision made from instinct. A decision that would change both their lives in ways neither could imagine. When Anna realized what he had said, tears burst from her eyes before she could stop them. It wasn't graceful, it wasn't controlled, it was raw, messy relief. Years of fear melting into the possibility of something brighter. Her shoulders shook, her breaths broke apart, and she bowed her head, trying to hide her tears. But for the first time in a long time, she wasn't ashamed of them. Michael offered her a tissue, and something gentle passed between them, something unspoken yet powerful, a thread of empathy, a quiet recognition. The following weeks transformed Anna's world. She entered Hale Industries with timid steps but a brave heart. She worked tirelessly, absorbing knowledge, staying late, pushing herself. The other employees were surprised at how quickly she adapted, how fiercely she tried, how much she cared about getting things right. Michael noticed. He noticed everything. He noticed the way she double-checked her work before leaving. He noticed how she always sat alone in the cafeteria, quietly thankful for her meal. He noticed how she listened more than she spoke, yet when she offered ideas, they were always thoughtful. Sometimes he found himself watching her from afar, not with romantic curiosity, but with admiration. She reminded him of himself, someone who had crawled their way up from nothing. But life didn't magically become easy. Her brother still struggled with his illness, money was still tight, and despite the new job, Every night she returned home to a small, cold apartment where loneliness sat like a shadow on the floor. The weight of responsibility still pressed on her chest. And one evening, after a particularly exhausting day, she broke down in the empty office hallway. She thought no one was around. She sank to the floor, covered her face, and let the exhaustion spill out. But Michael was still there. He saw her knees pulled against her chest, her shoulders trembling, the quiet sound of someone trying not to fall apart. He didn't approach immediately. He just stood there, giving her a moment, giving her space. Then, softly, he stepped forward. Anna scrambled to wipe her tears, embarrassed beyond belief. She apologized repeatedly, blaming herself for weakness, for emotion, for being a burden. But Michael simply shook his head. He told her something she never expected to hear, that she didn't have to carry everything alone, that she was stronger than she knew, and that needing help didn't make her weak, it made her human. That moment changed their connection forever. From then on, he offered guidance, support, and understanding, not as a CEO, but as someone who believed in her potential. He arranged flexible hours to help her care for her brother. He helped her connect with charities that provided medical support. He made sure she was never drowning, even if she felt overwhelmed. Anna didn't know how to repay that kindness, but she worked harder, gave her best, and quietly prayed that one day she would be strong enough to lift someone else the way he had lifted her. Months passed. She rose through roles quickly, assistant, coordinator, then junior analyst. Her growth stunned everyone. But what stunned her most was how Michael never looked at her with pity, only respect.
The day she finally saved enough money to move to a better apartment, she cried again, this time out of gratitude. And she wanted to tell him, to tell the man who had changed her life by simply letting a scared girl stay. Near the end of the story, I want to gently ask viewers, if this journey touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it, subscribe, and comment your thoughts. Your engagement helps these stories reach more people who might need a little hope today. Anna eventually stood in front of Michael's office, a small gift in her hands, a keychain shaped like an umbrella, symbolizing the day he rescued her from her storm. She wanted to give it to him, not as repayment, but as a reminder that sometimes kindness is the spark that lights an entire life. Before the ending, here's a special request. Please comment below. Would you have stayed at that table if life placed you there unexpectedly? She gave him the keychain, and for the first time in a long time, the powerful CEO smiled. Not the formal, practiced smile the world knew, but a genuine, quiet smile that reached his eyes. In that moment, Anna realized something profound. She had come into this world broken, struggling, almost invisible, but someone had seen her, truly seen her. And because of that, she had finally become strong enough to see herself. The poor girl who sat at the wrong table had found her rightful place, not by luck, not by accident, but by courage, compassion, and the simple power of being told to stay. And sometimes that's all a life needs to change forever.